Oh, no, that's
We're live. Don't say, oh,
wait, we're live. I wanted to say I have a cool little icon there. That's okay if we're live. But I see that financially free authors. That's so cool.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am here with Susan Finn of Rise Above Noise, who is very similar to me in loving digital marketing from a heart-centered perspective, and we just always really enjoy geeking out together and talking about marketing. So one of the things that Susan does super well is help people with their emails, which is something that we are all a little bit afraid of. We don't want to bother people. We don't want to send too many emails and blah, blah, blah. So Susan is here to tell us about how sending emails to your list is a way of giving love letters to your community. Welcome.
So good. And it's so true. We love geeking it. I feel like we could talk all day about systems and buttons and return on investment and conversions and all of that. But today, thank you for inviting me. I do love that, like the idea of love letters. Let me tell you where that came from. When I was getting started in the work I was doing, and I was finding so many people who just what you said, right? They didn't want to show up. They didn't want to send emails. They didn't want to bother people. But the people that I have chosen to work with are transformation creators. They're light workers, coaches, consultants. And here's what I know. There's two things I know. One is that, and this is my core mission in my business, that now more than ever, our world needs transformation creators. We need people to show up. That's marketing. Show up. Like anytime you hear marketing, put the words show up in there. So people need to show up, market, so that they can make the change that they're here to make. Somebody woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and thought, oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to my kids, my relationship, my health. I'm not sleeping. I'm sleeping too much. I'm not eating. I'm eating too much. I'm fighting all the time. I'm not speaking my mind. All of the things that I know the coaches and consultants that I work with help people get through. Somebody's waking up in the middle of the night. And what if they woke up in the morning and opened up their email, as we all do? Like, I know people say I don't like email. But I don't know, like everybody's opening their email up numbers of times a day. This person up all night, worried, opens up their email, and they get an email from you with a quick little tip, a quick little something to try today to eat better, sleep better, have a better relationship with your partner, with your kids, whatever it is. What if you got to be the angel in the inbox? What if? Right?
I love that. Oh, angel in the inbox. You're there to solve problems.
So you can start, right? And you keep solving problems. So there's two things, right? So one is, all right, so I got to write an email. You're like, oh, I got to write an email. Like, what am I going to write an email about? Think about sitting down and writing a love letter to that person who was up all night with those worries, and just giving them one thing to make it through that day a little bit better. Like, how wouldn't that be amazing that you could do that? I said there was two things, but I forgot what my other thought was, but that was it. Like, basically, how can you be the angel in the inbox?
And you had some interesting tips too about finding content for those emails, using your voice notes on your phone.
Right. So one of the pillars in the Rise Above Noise system is creating compelling content. And I do a whole section on using frequently asked questions. So I'll just kind of summarize it here. Basically, get a pad of paper. You know I'm techie, Carolyn. You know I love the spreadsheets. I love all of that. But there's something about putting pen to paper that makes your head click. So write down all the questions. Don't write the answers. Write down all the questions you can think of about your business. How much does it cost? What it's like to work with you? Who else will I be working with? All the questions. Then go over to your website, because you've probably answered a lot of them there. Grab some of your questions that you would have found on there. Don't stop there. Ask next time you're on a networking call, next time you're out to lunch with your friends, next time you're out for dinner with your family, ask them, hey, do you know what I do for work? Do you have any questions about what I do for work? Like, I am sure that my husband is not very clear on what it is that I do for work. And so his questions will mean a lot to me. One of them was, what's the difference between sales and marketing? You do sales, right? I'm like, no, I do marketing, right? So,
It's a good one.
so now you have this whole list of all the questions. Now, my friends, you do not need to go down into that rabbit hole of what am I going to post next. Don't get sucked into it. Don't spend the time. Don't worry about what other people are sharing. You're staying in your zone of genius. And now you can go and answer the questions and put them in the places, right? So put them on your website, on your socials, on your emails, anywhere you can, in a podcast, in your YouTube. But here's what Carolyn was referring to. I recently dug deep into why do people get stuck, right? They know their stuff. You know your stuff. I know my stuff. But if I sit down to start typing about it, I get stuck. Now, all right, ChatGPT, we're not going to talk about that today. But in general, I might go and see what other people are talking about. And then I might get into that, like, oh, should I use this? Should I use that? It's not my zone of genius. Like, and then I feel icky. So here's what I'm going to say to you. Don't do that. Don't go looking what other people have shared. Open up the voice app on your phone, or if your computer records, and answer the questions fully like you're talking to somebody in the room. And then go ahead and transcribe that. And now you can go ahead and edit it. And what happens is you're clearing out any of that head track, right? You're clearing out any of that. You know your stuff, right? So when you're in your flow, go ahead and just speak it out and then transcribe it. And then you can use it in all the places.
Yes. I mean, that's content for a year.
Oh, yeah. And then you're going to reuse it. Because if you post something today and then 6 months you're going to answer the same question, you're going to be in a different place. It's going to sound different.
That is true. Yeah, we're always making little shifts and pivots in our business. Things are always changing a little bit here and there.
What's the question you get the most, Carolyn?
Oh, gosh. That's a good think. What's included in a funnel?
Mm-hmm.
I think is probably the biggest question. Yeah, my husband also, he's like, I don't understand what a funnel is. And I'm like, can I explain? And he's like, no, please don't.
No, thank you.
He knows it'll be hours later. I love talking about funnels. But yeah, there's so much confusion of what is a funnel versus what is a website. What is a landing page? What is an opt-in page? What is a squeeze page? What is a lead magnet versus an opt-in? We have all of this terminology, and so many of them are just different words for the same thing.
Right. Yeah. And often people will ask me about creating sales funnels, which is when I would lead them to you, because that is not, although I can do it, my copywriting is not in that area. So I will create an automated welcome sequence, generous, giving. Oh, now I remember what my other point was. Generous and giving automated welcome sequence, so that when someone signs up for your freebie, your lead capture, your lead generator, now little by little, you're giving, so they get used to open up your emails. You're not trying to sell them necessarily. You are saying, here's my Instagram if you want to see me. Here's my calendar if you want to get on it. But you're not doing any of the sign up now, only 24 hours left, half an hour more. Like, those are important. It's not where I spend a lot of my time. That's where you spend your time. What I missed before was in answering the questions. Many people will say to me something like, well, if I give it all away in my emails, then nobody's going to have to hire me. But you know that. What can we not find on the internet? We can find everything on the internet, but each of us, right, especially the transformation creators that I work with, they're looking for the person to guide them through whatever issue they're having. So you get to be their guide and show them what's important to know, what are the next steps to take, and you can share that in person, but also give them a little taste of it in your any content you're creating, but in particular emails.
Yeah, definitely don't be afraid to give away information. Information is easy. Easy to find. And I'm a total DIYer. When I want to do something, I go and look it up on YouTube and I try all the different things. But that doesn't stop me from wanting to purchase courses and coaching. Like, if it seems like it's going to be in a succinct manner and I'll be led through it, then yeah, I will definitely purchase things.
Yeah. Yes. Same. I mean, I'm probably going to play the videos at 2 times speed. I'm probably going to like scroll the content because we got things to do, right? We don't need to waste our time on things like that. And then I'll slow it up when I need to. So,
well, that's another nice thing sometimes about the coaching and the courses too, is instead of trying to like find all these details in different places, you don't have to waste your time like, okay, now I got to learn this thing, now I got to figure out this thing, how does this thing connect to this thing. It's like, if it's all sort of curated for you, it's a nice experience.
Right. And I love it when there are, well, of course, indexes. Lately, I've been telling people when they're creating their content, sometimes they'll be maybe making a YouTube video and on a particular topic as like a little mini course or their lead generator. And what I'm asking them to do on this topic, I know we're going off topic now because you guys, we could talk all day about this, but I'll just give you this tip. So on the frequently asked questions line of thinking, you make a YouTube video, you answer the question, and then in the description, you want to make sure that you highlight the 2 to 3 most important bullets. And what I suggest to people is that they put the timestamp on there too, because people who are busy like you and myself, we want to just know where to go right away to get the answers.
That's so true. And I love that YouTube allows you to do that. So if I have a video that's longer than 7 to 10 minutes, I will put those chapters in there so that you can scrub and see and click to get to just the part that you're most interested in.
I love it when I'm on Google and I search for something and it brings me right to that point.
Right to that
on the YouTube video.
Oh, technology is amazing. We live in the future. As I always say, we're on the cusp between creepy and convenient.
Oh my God, so true. So true.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, just give and give and give and give. And people are going to want you and your help with what you're giving because you're showing off your expertise. You're showing what you know. You're scaring and overwhelming them so they know they need help.
So they need you. Carolyn,
well, you have to do that on purpose. That just happens.
Well, because there's so much. And I know when it's like me, I'm like, oh, I'll tell you this one thing though. I was working with somebody one time and we were setting her up on her email service provider. And I was so excited for her because she was just taking the next step in her business growth. And I was like, that was when we were meeting side by side. And I said, okay, well, now you're just going to take your image and drag it into here. And then once it's in here, you're going to drag it over to here. You just want to make it bigger. And here, you're just going to add a button. She said, Susan, stop. You say just, and I want to throw up. And it was such a good lesson for me because I'm like, okay, right. It isn't. Right.
Yeah,
I can't do what my friend Diane does.
It was like a whole lesson for her.
Right. And that was a lesson for me to say, all right, where are we at? And so now I'm always very conscious when I'm working with people. Where are you at? Where's your conscious, where's your zone of competence? And let me meet you where you are and then take you to the next level if you want to. If you don't want to, then we find ways for somebody to do it for you. But understand what your priorities are first.
Right. So in your business, you're really helping to teach and guide people in how to create their own email strategy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I do the welcome sequences because I love them. I use the Donald Miller template for the most part, unless they already have something. Nice. But yeah, and it's just every time I'm on a call with somebody, it's just like, how can I get more people to see this amazing human, the people that I get to spend every day with? Like, how do we get you to show up? That's marketing. Show up.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely love the love letter idea. I feel like
Mhm.
when I do my very personal email on Fridays, that's what it feels like. It's sitting down and writing a letter to a friend.
Yeah. Who needs you? Who needs to hear from you?
So how often do you suggest doing promotion in emails?
You know, it depends on how often you have things. What I'll do often is I'll do the information. So it's either something from my heart or it's something that I'm thinking about. Recently, I was talking about value proposition. But then always at the bottom of my emails, I have what's coming up next,
Oh,
right? And then I also always put a testimonial. It's not right for everybody, but I think it's just a matter of because so much of what I give is free. Like here's a free workshop, here's a free webinar, here's a free resource. That I feel like it would be doing a disservice not to say that. I sometimes talk about the frequency about like thinking like NPR, right? Because they like give and they give and they give and you listen and then they have their quarterly fundraiser drive, right? So
yes,
same thing,
very annoying time where all they do is tell you
right?
to pay money.
Right, but you expect it and you understand it. And
Yeah.
then of course they have the sponsors that give their messages too. But I think it's like that. It's like how much and when you give and you give and you give and you give, then people don't mind so much if you're like, hey, I got this workshop coming up. I think you'd like it. Here's how much it is. Here's how you sign up.
Yeah, it's always thinking in terms of service, being helpful to people, being of service to people, letting them know the things that they're probably going to want.
Yeah, but what I think is so brilliant about the work that you do, Carolyn, is because I think it's what people don't necessarily think about. So I have a workshop coming up, let's say, and so I'll throw it out on email. But what happened, right? So you let people know about it, but then what happened? They register, and they register what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
And then how many reminders do they get? Like, I love the work that you do because you're guiding entrepreneurs to think step by step and to anticipate ways to make the experience better for their students or their clients, but also for themselves, because now they're free to live in their zone of genius instead of worrying about the tech.
Very true, yes. And always knowing what's the next step, so people don't feel like you've dropped them and left them to wander alone, lost and confused.
Yeah, but isn't that the worst thing? Like people who've let's say led a webinar or run a workshop. When I had my membership, this would come up a lot. People would be so excited. Oh, I landed this workshop. I'm going to be in front of 500 women. And so then it would be like, what are you giving them to get on your email list? Like, do you have a lead capture? All right, so you're going to get them on your email list. What happens next? So they get one thing from you, and then what? And then what? And then what?
Always be funneling. Showing off my terrible nails. Always be funneling.
Always. Exactly.
Yeah, I think you bring up such a great point too about the frequency is very custom. So I don't think that there's any set, like, okay, here's the template, here's the rule, here's the when you do this, because everybody's business is different, their audiences are different, their personality is different. And so when you're thinking about how often do I promote, do I always put a call to action in my email? Do I ask people to book calls every time? It's always about thinking, what is your ideal customer or client journey, and how does what you're doing match where they're at, because it's going to be different for everyone.
It is, and I think it's important to set the expectation. As soon as somebody gets on your list, let them know what to expect. So I'm doing a welcome series for a client right now, and it's going to be a series of 10 emails. Some people would find that like, oh, it's a mini course, right? So she's getting a chapter a day for 10 days.
Oh, very nice.
So I think it's really important that the first email says, over the next 10 days, you will be receiving each chapter is going to be such and such. And if you don't want to get these anymore, you can opt out of this list here or this series here and give them a way to do that.
Right. So it's not opting off of the whole master list. It's just if you don't want to be getting this series, you can set that up in your email platform where they can unsubscribe from just that piece.
And always reminding them how they got on their list, because, you know, I don't mind when people unsubscribe. If my content is not serving them, that's fine. Totally. But what does interest me sometimes is when I get somebody who unsubscribes and they say, I never signed up for your emails.
Yeah, you sure did.
Right. I understand too that it's the number one choice on the opt-out thing. So I get that they're just checking it off. But I'm like, well, there was really no other way that you got on my list.
I mean, there are people who are kind of sneaky and underhanded and will add people to lists without their consent, which is illegal. And we don't do that.
Right.
So yes, if you're on my list, it's because you signed up for something. And of course, you're always welcome to unsubscribe. And I do agree. I think that in people's haste to be nice and not inundate people with emails, they let it go for a long time. And then people forget who you are.
That's right.
You know, I get my emails. I probably have 25 different people that I see their name in my inbox, and I'm just like, I don't really remember who that person is or what they do. And then there's a couple where as soon as I see their name, I'm like, oh yeah, they do this thing. Like, oh, okay. So this leads to losing people on your list and unsubscribes and, heaven forbid, reporting for spam if you're not staying in touch regularly, like you said, and reminding people that they're on your list and reminding people and finding a way to stand out and be different from those other people in the inbox, so that people start like really recognizing you as a friend when they see you in their inbox.
Because you're always being generous. That's the thing, right? You're always writing love letters. You're not writing it about yourself necessarily, only because you know that anybody who's reading it is only reading it because they're thinking, what's in it for me?
And that's not a bad thing.
That's really fine. That's right. That's so important. Oh, I had another thought that I just lost too. I have so many thoughts when I'm with you, Carolyn. It'll come back.
Yeah, it's writing love letters. What else did now I lost my train of thought too. What have you done?
Well, it's showing up in value. Oh, I know what it is. So here's the thing. Every Tuesday morning on my calendar, it says, write the Rise Above Noise newsletter. So it's on my calendar every Tuesday. Now, it doesn't always get done on Tuesday, but it's always on my calendar on Tuesday. So from a marketing perspective, the beauty of write your newsletter on your calendar and making sure it gets done within that period of time is so many facets. So that means that all week long, you're thinking, what's going to be in my next newsletter? Or when you do your quarterly planning, your 12-week planning, you're going to make sure that it's all outlined and ready to go. So a weekly commitment to content, whatever it is. So whatever your content is going to go out on your email. Let's say your other places too, but we're just talking about this. So it makes you be committed to your marketing in a larger way. It makes you continually think during the week, what are my people asking? Going back to frequently asked questions. What's a question I got this week? How can I be of service to my community this week? And then never mind that your email, then it's on your blog and your post. If it's on your blog, then you've got search optimization. Same thing with your YouTube. Like this one weekly commitment to content is really, instead of feeling scattered and in chaos all the time, like get calm, show up in your zone of genius, and know that you're doing exactly the right thing on the regular.
Yes, I love that. And even though I said earlier that we don't really do templates because everybody is unique, you do have like a system that you guide people through to get them really set up for success in their marketing.
Well, I understand. Like maybe people are listening, maybe they know you and they don't. But here's what happens when I speak to somebody about marketing. I'm talking with an energy healer, light worker, maybe a coach. And I say marketing or I say email. And Carolyn, you've probably experienced this. You can see there's a physical reaction like, oh, right? They don't want to do that. So they have to feel like there's a reason that they're doing it. You asked me a question and I got off track there.
I want to hear more about your system and how you
Yeah.
guide people into showing up for their
And I
marketing.
think if we get this, right, what I was talking about, that feeling of, oh, I just feel overwhelmed and it's tech and what if I press the wrong buttons? And it just feels like, I think of it like all these ideas and things floating over their head. So I bring them in. I have a Rise Above Noise 5 pillars of it's a roadmap for guiding people to understand what activity they're doing, which pillar it fits into. Quickly, you'll share the link, and on the link, riseabovenoise.com/goodies, you'll find the 5 pillars of Rise Above Noise and more details than this. But it's basically, the first one is where you start. They're not necessarily sequential, but one is, I think it is the number one step, which is know yourself, know your mission, know your non-negotiables, know who your client is, and know what your core values are, and your mission and who you're serving. Second is write compelling content. So I went over frequently asked questions. We go into more detail there. Third in the Rise Above Noise pillars is proof of concept, which is basically collecting testimonials, case studies, and then using them in your marketing. The fourth one, my God, we could go over for a whole year, which is organizing and scheduling and tools. Mostly I talk about in my place, right? I could talk about so many things, but at the course or my 12-week journey, we talk more about creating a content rhythm.
Ooh.
Right? So that what's that weekly thing that you're going to do? What's the monthly theme? What's the quarterly big idea? What's right, like what you're doing with Traffic School?
Yeah, I was about to say this week we're talking about SEO and content marketing and choosing a blog or a YouTube channel to put out a big piece of content each week.
Right? Like making sure you have a system, because often people will hear me say time and energy is our only true currency. Like don't let your energy get scattered. Don't get sucked into that rabbit hole. Have a system. And then the fifth one is really where I spend most of my time, which is keeping in touch, helping people with like contact management systems or email or list growth, or if they're networking, what's a good way to follow up, all those things, so that they can show up and be of service.
I'm going to need to get some input from you when we talk about CRM systems and follow up in quarter 2 of Traffic School.
Yeah. I love it. I love systems, and I love having things organized. It was too long that I had things everywhere. And then you start looking for it. You're like, where did I put that?
Yeah, I'm still working on getting everything organized, but it definitely brings me a lot of joy. Spreadsheets are my love language.
Right.
Every time I see a Facebook ad that's like, and I made a spreadsheet for this, and I'm just like, well, you got me.
You got it. For sure.
It's so satisfying to organize things and systematize them. Which is why I do what I do, and other people who are like, are you crazy? That does not sound like fun at all. Don't have to do it, because we can do it for them.
Well, I think it's because you're a lot like I am too, because we both want to just learn all the things all of the time, and understanding that when you have so many ideas like you do, like I do, it's easy to get carried away and then get nothing done, get frozen. So if you have a spreadsheet and you dump your ideas someplace, you know that then you can go forward with the one thing that you've prioritized for that day.
That's very true. My husband used to work at Franklin Covey, and so he does a lot of like time management training, and so he had the suggestion, because I'm always like, my wish list of things is growing and growing and growing. Like, oh, I want to take that course, and I wanted to do this program, and it was like, put them all down on the list, and then, reward yourself when you hit certain milestones in your business. Like, now I can purchase that course.
Well, that's how I feel, Carolyn, in our Idea Lab community too. There's so many opportunities for learning and connecting in there. I feel like, could I just get paid to be in there and learn like all the time and meet these really cool people all the time? So good.
Yes. Can I just spend my entire life doing nothing but soaking up everyone's knowledge?
Right. And then talking about it. I think there's a word for that. I don't know what it is.
It's so nice when you find that rhythm of your joy and your zone of genius and what brings you satisfaction in life.
Yes, and when you can integrate it into a business journey that also brings you income and
Yes.
helps you make the difference with other people.
Yes, it's very easy for me to forget about the income side of things because
Yeah.
I'm just very eager to help. But yes,
Yeah, that's my main thing with my clients is when we talk and I'm like, all right, tell me everything you love, what you hate. Like, let's talk about all the things that give you joy. What can we do that gives you joy that also is going to bring you income? And because of when I started, a lot of yogis, Reiki, they're very committed to what they do. And they were getting some pushback about charging, right? So understanding energy is money, that's a whole conversation. That's a whole nother podcast. Like money is energy, I should have said that. Yes, you're giving your gift, so let's make sure that you're compensated for it appropriately. I don't make business plans or anything, but I do want them to find ways to.
Yeah. It's very hard as a heart-centered person in service who does things because they love to help and to see people succeed. Like putting a price tag on that is very challenging. I work with a money mindset coach myself, and it's well worth it.
Maybe I should talk to that person because I think pricing is so challenging. I'm putting together a program, and honestly, I'm like, is it $300? Is it $3,000? Is it $30,000? I don't know.
Who knows?
Money seems random to me.
I watched a YouTube video last night where they were talking about small business TikTok. And so it was a lot about people who have, like, they're doing their crocheting or soap making, like creating a product, and the challenges with pricing that because it doesn't necessarily make sense to price it by how much time it took you to create the thing, because the better you get at it, the faster you are. And it was kind of amazing to me how many parallels there were with this service-based work, that even though I'm not handing someone a physical object, the assigning the value to the energy that I put into doing it is a very similar struggle.
And you just said all the courses you've taken, all the YouTube videos you've watched, all of the platforms that you've tried out and decided that you didn't want to use, and now you can pass that knowledge on, right? All the things, certifications and knowledge and memberships and networking.
It's true. Yep. I think one of the things I like about funnels is they kind of do the selling for you.
Mm-hmm.
Get it set up, and then you just promote your free stuff, and the rest of it just sells on the back end for you. You're like,
right.
Okay, I don't have to do that.
When you're doing it properly, don't waste your time. Get Carolyn to do it for you. No, we've seen that. Oh my gosh, I've seen this sometimes where people in my community, I can see they're sponsoring a Facebook ad or they're posting something. And their call to action, sometimes there's no call to action. Like they've boosted a post. And sometimes the call to action is visit my website, which is, right, you have to set that.
For goodness sakes, tell me why. Why should I visit your website?
Yeah.
Why should I get onto your newsletter? Why should I download your freebie?
Right. Exactly. Or there's like a pop-up that says join my subscriber list or something like that.
Oh, I just did a whole YouTube video about lead magnets, and because yes, I see that so much. This is a huge mistake that people make, is they just sort of slap it on their website, like, and you can sign up for my newsletter for tips and tricks. And you're just like, that's not compelling. Give me a
Nobody woke up this morning and said, you know what I need? I need to be on somebody else's email list.
Yeah.
Nobody.
And you can get so creative with what is that draw that brings someone onto your email list? What is that value proposition? Like, what inspired me to do that video was a guy, Ed, of Film Booth on YouTube. And he has started posting in his community tab to say, this week's email is going to include this very, very specific tip or how-to or resource. And if you don't get signed up for his email before that goes out, you miss it. That's a lead magnet. It's genius.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And then like my card draw funnel is the same kind of idea. You sign up for the list because once you're on the list, then you get to draw your affirmation or inspiration card every week. And that in itself is a reason to sign up.
Well, for so many reasons. I love that funnel that you have, the card draw. It's fun, it's interactive, it's bringing traffic to your website, it's giving Google some information about who's coming to your website, so that when if you've got it set up right and you've got a pixel on your site, or you're measuring your web traffic, you can see, oh, this is converting for you one way or another. Or you can use the pixel to set up your Facebook ads audience.
You can be so much more effective when you know what's working, when you're keeping track of who's coming, how many people are signing up. You can be so much more effective with your energy and with your dollars.
And it's so fun. It's rewarding. I love it.
Spreadsheets. Those numbers going up.
Yes. So good.
Yes. And yeah, like you said, eventually paid ads are a great way to bring traffic to your funnel, but it's not something to jump into immediately. Like I always tell people, get some organic sales first. Make sure that your funnel is actually converting before you pour money into ads.
Right.
But once you do have that set up, then yeah, ads make a funnel into pretty passive. You can just sort of set it and forget it.
Plus, if you do it correctly, so I have Pixel set up on a few of my pages where I know I get a lot of traffic. So Google and Facebook, well, in this case, Facebook's collecting, like if Carolyn's been on my website, if Carolyn's been on that page and I end up putting out a Facebook ad, well, maybe it'll send the ad to Carolyn, but it's going to send it to all the Carolyn lookalikes, other people who have Carolyn's interests, who are in age, demographic, like
much information about you that they can effectively find other people like
find your doppelgangers. Yes.
Again, we live on the cusp of convenience and creepiness.
Absolutely.
Just so darn helpful that Facebook can track and know everything about me, because then I get ads for things I actually want instead of random stuff.
I agree. I still find it creepy I still find it creepy though when I've just been talking about something and then it shows up in my feed.
For a while I was like, nah, that's got to be coincidence. But now it's like, nope, this is very obviously something is listening and bringing me.
I don't have Alexa or Google. I just don't through my phone.
I know. My husband and I were just like, oh, I wonder about this ad for a cereal that we saw in the 90s. And like, yeah, you could say, well, perhaps like you're of the age where you're nostalgic about the 90s and therefore, but no, it was so specific. And we had this very specific question. And the next day I opened YouTube and the first video is like the answer to that question.
See, freaky.
But convenient, because I got the answer to my question.
I always know when my Keen shoes are on sale. Always.
Oh my gosh, isn't it incredible? The internet changes things so rapidly, and like when we were growing up, you could not have even imagined that you'd be building a career online.
Yeah.
That online was even a thing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is amazing. And I'm glad, I'm glad there's people like you and like me to bring this kind of geeky love to the people who are like, look, I just want to show up and make a difference. I just want to coach people to sleep better, eat better, or whatever.
Yeah, it's lovely that there's diversity. We all have our own gifts and talents and interests, and it can come together in such a beautiful way. And, I think people hear marketing and like you said, they tense up because they associate it with a way that they don't want to. But the fact is, you can do it anyway, any way that feels good to you. And you have people like me and Susan here to help those people who are heart-centered and want to treat their audience with real gentleness and care, to set up marketing that aligns with what feels right to you. And
exactly.
Yeah. And we love doing it. So let us do it. It's not a headache for us.
I often tell people I'm addicted to the dopamine that's involved with like figuring things out. crossword puzzles, Sudoku, Wordle, and digital marketing. They all go to the same place in my head.
I agree. Puzzles and like kind of board games and fitting things together. And it's a huge rush. And when there's like a challenge, when I'm knee deep in someone's funnel and it's like, oh, actually, this platform is not going to do what I want it to do, and it's not going to connect to this. And when you find a creative way to like make it do what you need it to do, oh, it feels so good.
Yeah, I guess we're saying MailChimp without saying MailChimp right there.
I did not find a creative solution for fixing the MailChimp. That's just, nope, you got to get out. I'm putting it into my application for my Funnel by Friday service. If you're on MailChimp, you're going to have to switch. I'm not doing it.
Very smart. That's a good idea. Because somebody's going to cry. There's never been a MailChimp experience where somebody didn't cry. Sorry, MailChimp.
Sorry, you used to be the best. You were everyone's starter, first love, and now
there are some clients, I think, that are, with simpler, they don't necessarily funnels, just their weeklies. Also, though, I'll go back and say, I think MailChimp has beautiful landing pages. So I will say that about them. Very pretty.
All right, get something positive to say.
Yeah.
I was really shocked when I realized we think of MailChimp as the free one, where there's a robust free level, and that's not the case anymore.
No, it
you
isn't.
can't even schedule your emails with the free plan.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you can't segment your lists easily, the audiences. It's not intuitive. Anyway, I don't mean to bash MailChimp. I know that you've loved Kartra and you try everything that there is. I've been in constant contact for, 15, 16 years, but also loving right now MailerLite, ActiveCampaign.
Yeah, you saw I went and did the research to see what's the most affordable email system that will still allow you to build a funnel, and MailerLite came out on top.
How do they do it? I don't know how they're making their money.
Yeah, I mean, bigger lists, like many of these, you pay by the list size, but for MailerLite, it's like under 1,000 contacts, you can do it for free.
Yeah,
and there's some more advanced automations you can't do, but you can definitely set up a basic funnel and automation. So that's the most important thing for where I'm at anyway, and my clients.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm getting people started on that.
But then Flowdesk is really interesting too, because they have a set price for, it's not dependent on how many people are on your list, like $40 a month, and it's always that.
Interesting.
Yeah, different way of doing things.
Yeah, they have a nice what do you call it, drag and drop, and then
they're known as the pretty email filter.
It's so pretty. It's really pretty.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Experimenting with tools, trying things out. It's so much fun. Highly recommend.
I agree. I agree, my friend.
Well, I guess we should wrap up there. We've been talking for 40 minutes. So tell us, do you have any parting thoughts and wisdom to leave us with?
I want to say, I've been thinking a lot, and I know, Carolyn, you have too, because we're kind of in the same communities. I'm thinking a lot about the power of community and the power, because so many people that I work with are solopreneurs, it's lonely, right? It's like, how do you figure out who to collaborate with and how to show up? And so if you find the right community with the people that can support you, give you honest feedback, you can maybe trade services. I just think, I know we're in the Idea Lab community, also Success Champions Network. I have the Rise Above Noise free Facebook community where people are really creating a lot of collaboration opportunities. I would say join a community. Go into Carolyn's community and Idea Lab, my community, any place. I'm everywhere. And attract and be attractive to the people who are going to keep you moving forward.
That's a good one. Earlier, our spouses don't get it. Like, my husband is ridiculously supportive, and he believes in me so much, but he has no idea what I do.
Yeah, same.
And so, yeah, it's nice to have friends like you where I can be like, oh my goodness, I went and tried to do this thing in this program and it did this and this and this.
Yeah. And to get honest feedback. I know this morning we were in a call and I'm like, I just need someone to go through this program with me and not be nice to me. Like, people are so nice to me, but I want someone to say, honestly, if it's stupid, tell me it's stupid.
That's true. Brutally honest feedback can be valuable.
It's so valuable. Yeah. So in the Rise Above Noise free group, I do that. And then I'll be starting a paid group in April where it's like a master class each week and implementation sessions. And I'm really looking forward to that. So get on my list by going to the link here, riseabovenoise.com/goodies. And you will be amongst the first to hear when Rise Together lifts off. Yeah, we'll rise together.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me for this time.
Thanks for the invitation, Karen. Always, always.
Yeah. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
I hope so. Take care.